Okay, the pear saga continues. The pears were overrunning the laundry room and the refrigerator, so it's at the point I've had them sitting for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and start pressure cooking them. And then I will decide afterwards what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to make some pear syrup and some pear butter simply because my daughter-in-law loves it so much, so that way I'll have someone to give away some to. And I'm sure I can give some to some other people, but that's going to be the start. Jonathan has requested pear pie filling, so we'll make some of that also, and we'll just take you through each one of them as we go. Okay, so this is the peelings from the first batch, and I'm going to, those will be for the goats and the chickens to eat on later. I might stop feeding the chickens if they don't start laying, well, they're laying eggs. We just don't know where the eggs are. Whole nother story. Anyway, and I'm going to add a cup of water into here, and I'm going to pressure cook those. I'm going to look it up, but I'm probably going to do them for about 5 minutes, which might be a little bit on the long side, but I want this batch really soft. And it's a pear feast down there. The goats and chickens enjoying those peelings and cores. It's enough for everybody. That's all they'll get today. I got to peel. I'm going to peel another probably half bushel or bushel today, but I'll keep those. They won't get them all today because that'd just be too much for them. And you know how they are. They're goats. They will eat and eat and eat until they explode. Okay, I pressure cooked them for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to pull it down, open it up, and see how it looks. And I'm cooling it down instead of letting it cool down on its own accord because I don't know how tender they're going to be. Now, when I'm soft, I guess it'd be okay even if they were mushy because what I'm doing with them. But for the next batch, I'd rather just know a little more what I'm doing. Oh yeah, this is perfect for pear butter. Yep. That's the way we like them. Nice and tender. And some of them still have some consistency because these are canning pears. So, like this one has a little hard spot in it. So I could have cooked them a little bit longer, but I think this is good. And I will start the next batch. So I strained the juice, the liquid, because I had put just under a cup of water in the pressure cooker with it. So I strained that off and the juice that came from the pears, and that'll be used later to make the pear syrup. But I'm going to press the pears through this old sieve, and then we'll use that to make the pear butter. Through the sieve, it's going to look like fine applesauce. So just keep doing that batch through batch, and if you have a food meal, that'll work too. And I've always said I need to pick up one, and I just keep forgetting. But anyway, so I'm going to keep doing this through the whole batch, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So here's the finished puree, so to speak, and we're going to put this into the pot and cook it down for roughly an hour. And we'll see how it goes. I'm going to add probably add some cinnamon and some nutmeg, just a little bit since it is pear butter. Might put a little, I know like orange is a good thing to put in there. Oh, I've got orange peel. I could do that. I've got some orange peel. I was going to say, you know, sometimes some recipes call for a little bit of orange in there. Kind of just gives it that real fall flavor with the orange and the pears and nutmeg. But we'll see what we're going to do. I've decided I'm going to do just a pinch of nutmeg, tiny bit of cloves, a little bit of Chinese ginger, or you know, I had some candy ginger, but I'd have to kind of chop that up, and I don't know, it is pear butter, so that might be okay too. I don't know, but I think I'm just going to go with the Chinese ginger just to give it that little bite. And I'm going to put some lemon in it and just a touch of cinnamon also. And I'm going to guess this is probably 6 cups. I didn't measure it out, but I'm going to say probably more than 6-7 cups of pear pulp. And I'm going to just kind of squeeze in some lemon, and this is perfect lemon. It's lemon with essential oil, lemon juice with essential oil, so it's pretty strong. And then, like I said, I'm just going to pinch in the other ingredients a little bit at a time, and 2 cups of sugar. So you get an idea of how little of the seasoning I put in. That's all of it combined, and as you see, it just barely sprinkles on the top. I don't want it to be overpowering, The pears are pretty sweet this year, which is surprising. They're sweeter than normal because these canning pears sometimes aren't so sweet, but they are. They're actually, they taste pretty good just the way they were. So with the lemon, I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 cups of sugar and get this to start cooking down, and I'll start peeling the next set of pears while it's doing that. That really tastes yummy. That blend was like perfect. So now I'm gonna just cook it down until, and we're gonna have to stir it frequently, but I'm gonna cook it down until it can mound up on a spoon on its own, and then I'll prepare, well, I'll get my canner prepared. I'm gonna go, I wasn't gonna can them first today, but I thought, well, you know, I'm doing this. It only takes 10 minutes to do the water bath, so what the heck. We'll just go ahead and do it and get it over with. All right, so I've got the jars heating up. I've washed them with very hot soapy water, and now I'm going to actually boil them in here and then take it back down to temperature, and I put some vinegar in there also. And I'm still cooking the pears, so they'll continue, and I'm trying to stir them because every now and then they get a nice big bubble under there and kind of try to pop out. All right, I think it's ready. Look how it's mounding nice, and it's hanging onto that spoon. So we're going to go ahead and start canning it up. Yummy. Okay, I think I have everything ready. My lids are warming, and my jars are hot, already been boiled, and now they've just been sitting in the hot water waiting. And this is ready. I have my funnel. I have my little bubble remover. So I think I have everything we need. Let's get, okay, now I'm going to fill these jars up to a 1/4 inch headspace. So this is a wide mouth jar, so I don't need the funnel. In the smaller jars, I'll use the funnel just so I don't make a mess. 1/4 inch headspace, and like I said, we'll want to make sure and remove those bubbles. And I made this jar a little bit bigger. It's not a big jar, it's still just a pint jar. It's just short and fat. But my daughter-in-law just loves this stuff, so I'm going to make sure. Take just a little bit of this out. I got a little bit much in there. And that's good that I have a spoon sitting nearby to do that with. So you don't want to overfill it. It's got to have space to breathe and let that air out to keep it safe. Okay, so that should be about right, and I'm going to tap it a few times to make sure we got that air out. And I went around with the bubble thing, and I don't see any bubbles, so we will go ahead and put the lid on and tighten down fingertip tight. And I almost left out a very, very important part, cannot be underestimated, and especially now that I had tipped that lid in there, to make sure and clean your rim. Okay, I've got a little vinegar on here, and we're just going to clean that rim and make sure that nothing is going to keep this lid from properly sealing. Okay, and there we go. Okay, now we'll put on the ring. Alright, I'm going to take 2 hands to do this. I'm just going to continue the process through the jars. I don't know how many I'll get, probably 5, 6 jars. Once the lid is on, then it just goes back into the canner. And you want to make sure that the jars are covered by at least a 1/2 inch when you're canning them. I prefer at least, it says a 1/2 inch. I prefer at least 1 inch or more. Okay, let's keep going with the jars. Okay, so we got 2, 4, 6 jars out of there, 1/2 pint jars, and we'll let it get up to temperature. I'm going to cover it, let it get up to a boil, and then we're going to let it process for 10 minutes. And the reason why I do smaller jars on the pear butter and any type of the butters, because when you're home canning, you have to be real careful that the center temperature of what you're canning comes up to the temperature needed to kill that bacteria. And so when it gets to the thicker things like apple butter and pear butters and any type of butters, you've got to be careful. So I would rather do smaller batches and have more of them, and then that when you open them, you've got a nice fresh jar each time too. So that's one of the reasons why I do smaller jars when it comes to any type of the butters. Okay, so it's up to temp, been 10 minutes, and I went ahead and turned it off. And I'm going to take the lid off. And always open it up away from you. I know I've said that a million times, but always just a reminder. And then I'm going to let it calm down and cool down. I'll leave those jars in there until they, because with the air conditioner on in the house, I don't want those jars to go from that heat and then pull them out and they could shatter from, you know, the contrast in temperature. So I'm just going to go ahead and let them sit there for a few minutes and let that water kind of calm down and cool down a little bit. When everything cools down, then I'll take the jars out and I'll place them to cool down. All those pears turned into 6 jars of pear butter. But we've got several more baskets to go, so we'll have plenty of stuff.